Belligerent Brown Boys. We're back.
Back
guys.
for episode 10, the Big 10.
Episode 10. It is 10, right, in French?
Hey, I'm not the guy.
Yes,
It is.
Yes,
sir.
it is 10, right? Okay. Because I screwed up on the Spanish one last time. That wasn't good. That was actually kind of embarrassing. I think instead of saying 9, I just said new. Okay, so
Close
that
enough.
wasn't good.
Close enough.
Thank goodness, South America, Central America, Spain is not really our main audience right now. Otherwise, I would have been roasted pretty badly. But episode 10, we made it, guys. We made it. Milestone. We'll take every milestone we can take right now. Guys, welcome back. Belligerent Brown Boys, Sunny, Jag, Champ. We got some guests.
Got our first guest.
We got some guests today, people. We got Spade. We've got Ink.
What's up?
What's up? How's it going?
Toronto hip hop.
Sir?
Yeah, man. As you guys know, we've talked about Spade and Ink a couple episodes ago. His album just came out, Last of a Dying Breed. Suck.
Yes, sir.
And
Big up.
And if any of you knuckleheads out there don't know how to use Spotify or a phone and you haven't listened to this, Spade was actually nice enough to bring a little snippet with him. A track that was produced by Ink as well. So before we get into it, let's just take a listen to this guy.
Last of a dying breed. They ain't about that life, they just talk about it. Younger me would open up the trunk, pour the about it. But I'm grown and I'm smarter now. I'm a phantom gun, I move in the shadows, I dart you down. I'm laughing now, you could cry later. It's no wonder that you'd rather go and walk through the fire. You just walked around it. I'm saying how I feel, standing around the stem.
Hip hop. Insert Funkmaster Flex gif of him
Fire beat.
screaming.
That was a fire beat.
That's
dude,
the man.
And I think
Thank you, guys.
you had mentioned it was because you were playing Red Dead, and that's what
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Is that the inspo?
I was on a heavy Western inspiration, but I was also watching a lot of Westerns like Clint Eastwood and Django, like by was it with Jamie Foxx and
Right,
like,
yeah.
That's like one of my favorite movies. So I was watching that, and as well as I was just in a big Western mood, I guess you could say.
Yeah, fair enough. And when you heard the beat, what was going through your head when you heard it the first time?
I was like, yo, this is craziness
Yeah?
over here. I'm going to have to come with something. I mean, you heard. You could, you know what I mean? You couldn't even play half of it. I was going so crazy on it. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I remember, I think back in the winter, I was with him, and then he played it for me that night. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, come on. I think that's when I messaged you, and I'm like, this needs to come out like yesterday.
You're like, why isn't this out?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's coming. Don't worry.
That was great, man. So again, guys, go out there, show some love to Spade, hop on Spotify, check out that album. It is great. We're talking, well, I hate to say this term, but we're talking real hip hop.
Yeah.
All right. And don't worry, we're gonna dig into this a little later on because that's why we have you guys here to give your opinion on everything. But a little phrase that we have at the beginning of every episode is a lot's happened. And before we jump into like the music thing, I need to do this. Disney, what are you guys doing?
Oh, yeah, we're going to start there?
Every single time we have an episode, there's always, before we get going, have you guys seen Secret Invasion?
I declined to watch it.
I like that response. Have you seen Secret Invasion?
I haven't watched it either.
So these guys told me to go full spoiler rant.
Yeah, I was like, just...
I don't care.
Full disclosure, I was like an episode
Let
and
it
a
all
half
out.
in.
All right. So I'm not doing this just for the sake of spoilers. Like I just want everybody's opinion on like the state of like where we are with this stupid company right now.
So spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Big spoiler alert,
But,
everybody.
yeah, again.
If
but
you care, which I don't know why you even care.
Yeah,
but, you know,
I don't think many
Yeah.
of us out here care.
if you-
Exactly.
if you care.
We're giving you the green light.
Yeah. This is like, even if you haven't watched it, I'm not going to put a gun to your head and tell you to watch it. This thing was trash.
Nah.
So, Phase 1 gave us Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man 1. And we had the introduction to this guy who is probably, I guess, when it comes to the MCU, top 5 most important character ever. This guy was such a badass throughout the entire first 20 movies and stuff that
Yeah, you
Disney
could say
did.
he was the architecture, right? Within the film.
Exactly.
Right?
Without him, we don't have Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, Literally, we don't have Avengers without him. It took Disney Marvel 6 episodes to completely destroy the entire concept of Nick Fury. This idea of this guy that's just being a regular human, just being otherworldly, just completely destroyed this dude. And when you watch the show, this is something that we talked about in the past. It's make the guy look bad, and they're making the women look like they're the ones who are competent in doing everything. Basically, Captain Marvel all over again.
No way. That's the angle.
Let me tell you what they did at the end of this stupid show.
I saw it. But
You saw it?
Because I was curious.
Okay,
you know?
guys.
So
I'm gonna have you save the ending for a second. But like I said, I was an episode and a half in, and the first thing that stood out to me within the first 30 seconds to a minute was like these digital graphics were terrible.
Horrible.
They were so bad. Like I felt like I was watching something from the 80s. Like honestly, you know what? Stuff in the 80s was way better.
Yeah, put some respect on the 80s, man.
You know what? Like it was so bad. And not that was a big, like if they had a good script, if they had a good story, you know, maybe I would have stuck it through, but it was almost unwatchable just from not just the acting, but just the graphics, and like it just looked so fake.
Yeah, I was the same way. I won't say I declined to watch the whole thing because I was like, let me check this out. And I think at one episode in, I didn't get to the half, and initially same reaction, but also I was like, this is not Secret War, Secret Invasion. Yeah. I'm like, this is not at all. This is not the story. It's like making Harry Potter, and you just make up your own thing.
Yeah. I understand
why
you want to adapt stuff for TV. I get it. You want to change a couple things here and there, but the fact that they changed this thing onto its head completely
has nothing to do with what Secret Invasion is.
Yeah.
Right.
But dude, okay, the ending of this show.
Well,
I guess that's how bad it was, I guess.
Yeah. We'll cover that up post edit, don't worry. So Gravik, the Skrull who's leading this secret invasion, creates this machine that's essentially going to create Super Skrulls. Awesome, Super Skrulls. We're finally getting Super Skrulls in the MCU. This is amazing. Secret War, it's about to happen. What this guy does is Emilia Clarke's character, Gaia. She's Talos' daughter, right? She disguises herself as Nick Fury to trick Gravik into this machine. And the whole point of this machine, again, to make Super Skrulls, because they got the DNA from all the Avengers, whatever, right? It's called the Harvest.
Yeah.
So he turns the machine on, and then, you know, he becomes this Super Skrull, okay? Goes to punch Nick Fury in the face. He stops the punch. Gravik's confused. Oh, guess what? It's actually Gaia, right?
Wow.
But now, both of them have the powers of every Avenger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
No way.
Every MCU character's DNA is inside them now.
I heard the breakdown of what's in there.
So they've single-handedly turned these two characters into the most powerful characters in the MCU because they have Captain Marvel's powers, they have Ghost's powers, they have
the
Drax,
Hulk and Drax. Why do you need
Hulk
both?
and Drax?
Yeah. Why do you
It makes
need
no
both?
sense.
My guys, the cheesiest scene I've ever put my eyeballs on when I'm watching something was Emilia Clarke staring at Gravik while they're about to fight. She flexes her arm, it turns into Drax's arm.
Oh my god, I can only imagine how this looked on TV.
Like, yeah, and it doesn't sound practically like it's gonna work.
Yeah.
And then you already know that the CGI ain't good.
It's
so
not
it's
good.
like 10 times as bad.
Yeah.
Oh man.
When I saw Drax's arm on her, I'm like, how can you get lower than where you already are with this show?
It looks ridiculous.
It's so
I
bad.
saw a picture. I thought it was just photoshopped. I didn't even read the story.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what is this stupid?
Same ways. That's why I watched the clip. Because I'm like, this picture has to be a joke or something, a meme or something. So I actually watched it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to go on with the rest of it because it's absolutely absurd. But we've talked about it ad nauseum about this entire thing. Since you guys are here, where are you right now with with MCU and Marvel? Like, do you even care anymore?
Not really.
No, right?
Yeah, they kind of ruined it for me, to be honest. I was with it. I was on board even when they were having their troubles, you know, because they had a lapse in their phase 2, you know.
Yeah.
They had Age of Ultron wasn't that great.
Yeah, the second Thor
Wasn't that great.
really-
Iron Man 3 wasn't that. It made a lot of money,
Yeah.
but it wasn't good just off the strength of Avengers.
The only character I think that had a good franchise or better than more than just one movie was Captain America.
Yeah, he
in
by
that,
by
in
far.
that first phase.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier is the best MCU movie ever.
Yeah.
Well,
And
they're making another Captain America, right? With
Arguably.
With Falcon. Well,
I think-
now he's Captain
I
America.
think it just
whatever.
speaks.
Yeah.
I guess we'll finally have one bad Captain America movie.
Yeah,
you see
that's what I was
how-
gonna say. I was gonna be like, the original
Exact.
Avengers is what made it. Now that they're all leaving, it's just not the same to me.
But I think
anymore.
this is a bigger, like, this is a byproduct of what is going on and going wrong with Disney as a company and as a whole. And you can kind of see it seeping into all their creative projects, not just Marvel, but like across the board. And I think that's their biggest problem, right? They're trying to force characters, force scripts for certain racial backgrounds, you know, like they're just
Instead of having it happen naturally.
Just naturally, you know?
Because there is a natural
Yeah.
progression into these characters.
exactly.
You have the core Avengers, right? What was that? Like 70s, 80s era?
Yeah.
But they still have to explore Spider-Man, Daredevil,
Yeah.
the Punisher, Ghost Rider, Fantastic. Like there's so many other guys you got to go through to get to these guys they're trying to force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is with these guys that they're trying to force is when the comics took a dive, because these original characters, save maybe for Miss Marvel, the younger Miss Marvel, they weren't interesting.
Yeah.
There was nothing new about them, right? They were just copies of other characters,
And
but
like
with a
weaker
different
versions,
face.
right? Like
Exactly,
weaker
yeah.
versions, different face, and just not much fan following or just
It's just
following in general.
it's just not interesting.
Yeah.
Why would you go see the same thing over and over?
Yeah. I think why I'm letting it bother me so much is because the last 12 years, you've basically had me in a chokehold,
Yeah.
right? Like just with all your movies and stuff, you had me just wanting to see what's going to come. But then the last 3 years, like from pandemic to now, it's just been quantity over quality. And I feel like my intelligence is being insulted every time I watch something now.
Yeah.
Because
Big time.
if you'd like just watch Secret Invasion just to humor yourself, you feel insulted,
Yeah.
right? Like you're watching it, you're like, I'm giving you my time and this is what I'm getting back.
Yeah.
Apparently, from what I've read, the show did suffer like 4 months of reshoots,
Yeah.
which can hurt a product, but I mean, but still,
I think there's a lot of aspects. Like, I think Disney as a whole is really, really not doing well with any other projects. But as a whole, there was COVID, right? Writer strike happening now. The writing quality has been really bad, just
Terrible.
across the board. The Witcher, it suffered from the same thing, right? The
Yeah.
writers thought, they knew what was better. They changed the script from what it originally was. They made characters different racial backgrounds. They forced characters into, certain characteristics. Let's say, someone was killed, someone turned gay, and they're just going into all these different directions that is not the source material. And
But
the
they don't-
reason you had so
yeah.
much success was because you were following the source material,
Yeah.
right? This is not to say like, if naturally you want to make a change and it naturally fits, okay, do that. But don't force these changes.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that in movies today as well. Like you go to watch a movie and, there's certain scenes, like I always go back to the, Avengers scene when it's all the women got together and they're doing this one. I'm like, just don't force this. If it's naturally happening, like do it. Like there's been amazing, every decade has, like they talk about, okay, women in movies. They've had amazing women in movies from 70s, 80s, 90s, right? The Terminator movies who was a lead character. Yes, Arnold
Sarah Connor,
Schwarzenegger was
yeah.
this, but without Sarah Connor, there's nobody, right?
Exactly.
The original Alien,
Ripley, Alien.
right? Yeah, like don't. So I think they've like kind of got caught in the culture war, and they're just trying to force all this down everybody's throat, and I think that's where they're just losing their entire audience.
I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but this reminded me of the Snow White fiasco that's been happening over the last couple of weeks.
I've heard a little bit about that, but again,
you haven't seen what they did with it?
I try to ignore that stuff now, to be honest. There's just so much of it.
My God.
It's become by the numbers.
I'm
now.
to that point where I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have
just
no
can't-
idea.
So
I
okay,
can't be bothered.
somebody please pull up a picture of what they've done with this movie.
But I know they're like, it's hardcore multiculturalism. That
Is
makes
it
no
like Little
sense.
Mermaid again?
Yeah, so
I think this might be
basically,
worse.
They're doing it again.
all
And I mean-
movies now, like all movies, all
Yeah.
shows, the problem with Disney is they always have an agenda now,
Yeah,
right? They're
Yeah.
like changing it. So
It's like their new formula.
but
yeah.
it makes no sense. Like at least Game of Thrones, when they had different areas of the map, you had different people. There was an
Yeah.
Arab
That
side.
made sense.
There
Yeah.
was
But it
the
makes sense.
African
So-
side.
yeah.
There was the Chinese, the Asian, there was all these different, and we were set in Europe. That's why there were Caucasian people there, because it's in Europe, medieval times, right? Just like The Witcher. Why are there all these different people? Make it make sense. Have them
Yeah,
there. But
exactly.
make it make sense. Say, yo, shout out to the people from the Africa equivalent of whatever fantasy world. That's what J.R.R. Tolkien had going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
People always cite these guys like they're racist, but a white man is not going to tell the colored man's story.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
going to tell the white man's story, and
Yep.
he's going to his characters are going to be white guys. The people who created these characters,
Where you pull it up.
they're older white dudes, right? Disney, if they want to be woke, go find the colored creators. Why don't they go to India? Look how much lore and
Yeah,
story there
there
is.
you go.
Well,
Thank
all
you.
the Hindu
Well said.
mythology.
Yeah.
Find a guy. Go find who's the guy who made Triple R. Get him to direct it. Write a
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah.
You know, about some kind of culture, and get him to pick his people. You know, and
Well
that
said.
that will be true multiculturalism, introducing it into Hollywood.
I mean, we're giving
You know what I'm
credit.
saying?
We're asking a company who made Jake Gyllenhaal Prince of Persia.
Yeah, and it just seems like they're trying to right their wrongs. And you know, when you go back and dig into your past mistakes, you're just it's not a good idea. It's not a good look. You know.
Yeah.
So with the Snow White thing, it's like the most basic thing. What do you think of when you think of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Right? Like for me, it's like, you know that she's supposed to be a white girl,
Yeah.
right? Like she's Snow White, like her skin is like snow, right? And then it's supposed to be seven dwarfs. And they completely changed all of that.
it's not even dwarves anymore.
It's not even
It's not even
dwarves.
dwarves anymore.
So
Yeah.
what is it then?
They're called what are they calling
The
them?
little people?
Fantastical creatures or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
And dude, you got to see this set picture. You guys are gonna.
I think that's more insulting to
So the
little
Daily
people
Mail,
to call them-
the Daily Mail had a pretty cool title: Snow White and the Seven Politically Correct Companions.
Oh boy.
I thought that was pretty good.
You gotta show them this picture, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, if you guys want to pass that,
Let's see.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Here's your.
if you guys are watching,
Here's your
this,
seven
definitely check it
dwarves.
out.
Okay, yo. No. You see, here's the thing. I seen this and I thought it was a meme. Like I thought it was a joke.
Sorry,
I didn't think
brother.
this was real.
Did
dude.
somebody post that in one of the WhatsApp groups?
Not even in not even like a disappointing way.
And I think
Now that I look at
it
the
was
picture,
just
I'm like,
like-
I might have actually seen something.
it was just
about
like,
this.
what is this? You know,
That's
it
how
was
much it
just like, what the
sticks.
But and then
just-
what's insulting is to hear that there's people starving in the world and they're spending $200 million to make this.
Yeah.
At least make it good, man, or go take that money and go feed some people. G.
There's
You know what I'm saying?
there's one person
Yeah.
who I'm gonna hold personally responsible for this, and that's Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, where's the outrage?
Yo.
I'll tell you why, because he's the one that set this movie back. Because
Yeah?
because he had an interview after Thrones wrapped up,
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, why do when they announced the Snow White remake, he's like, oh, why are dwarf actors always pigeonholed into these kinds of roles? I thought we've because of like everything, I thought we'd advanced, whatever. Disney responds to that saying, okay, look, we'll reimagine the dwarves, right? Easy for this guy to say, you made your bag. Game of Thrones made you super rich.
Yeah.
You were Stryker in X-Men for some reason. When Stryker's supposed to be the 6'2", whatever. You
Yeah.
had no problem taking that role. But now you're taking roles away from other dwarf actors because you got your money. Now you're going to pretend like you're upset? Listen, Tyrion, you need to shut the hell up. This guy needs to come out and apologize to everybody. Be like, listen, man, this is on me.
He's pulling the Tyrion. He's trying to be a
He's
smart
pulling the
guy.
Tyrion, yep.
He's playing.
Hand,
He's
hand of the mouse.
Yo,
this
he's
guy.
playing politics. He's like, hey, I learned something from this role, man.
Yeah, it's bad, man.
Yeah.
Imagine like being a representative of your community and just setting your community back like 30 years.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if like these people even like they just told the narrative that the culture sets, right?
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
he probably thinks he's doing something
Yeah,
good.
like, I don't
and
think they
everybody's
think-
like, yo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably saw it and he was like, I really messed up.
yeah.
He's like, this is my bad. He's probably never going to
Whoops.
leave his house until this movie comes
Yeah, he
out.
probably saw the poster and he's
Yeah.
like, what did I do?
Man, I still can't believe he was Stryker in X-Men.
But, like-
That was wild.
But like there's
didn't-
certain
yeah.
roles, this is what I mean. Like I saw that and I'm watching that film and I was just like, oh, okay.
Didn't
Right?
matter
Like,
to me.
It didn't
too
matter to
much,
me,
yeah.
too much, right? But when like you can just tell when like you feel it sitting there watching, be it TV or movies, like when when the director is forcing something
Yeah.
for you to believe, right? And it just doesn't work and it just comes off, just hey, you're trying to tell me how I should think or feel about something,
Yeah.
right?
Directors aren't even allowed to have a vision anymore.
No.
Like all these studios that are hiring these directors, they're just hiring yes men to just do what the studio wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're telling me you're gonna tell Tarantino what to do with the movie? Forget that.
But you see that everywhere, right? Like there's the whole Budweiser fiasco shows is no different than what's happening in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Like they're gonna toe whatever the culture tells them to do, they're gonna do that, right? So they're gonna toe the so-called company line to make sure everyone feels inclusive or whatever people tell them to.
I am absolutely outraged. Just
Yeah.
completely flabbergasted. Whatever other words are in this thesaurus that I can't think of right now, I'm that as well.
Bamboozled.
All right.
That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Disney, you got enough of our time, man. You've eaten up like 5 of our episodes. I'm
Yeah.
sick of you guys.
You
Just
get
don't.
a collective thumbs down from the belligerent brown boys, man.
Big thumbs down.
Yeah. You know what? We say that, but we probably manifested something tomorrow. And we're gonna have to talk about it next week. Yeah. But anyway, the reason why we got these guys here today is because there's one, topic genre that we haven't really talked about since we started, and that was music. We all love music. We're big music fiends.
Yeah,
Right?
which it's not down your guys' avenue, but we were just at Veld this weekend.
Yeah.
The big
I could dig it.
Yeah, EDM festival here in Toronto. It's like, I guess it's the biggest one in Canada. It was amazing. This guy was there all 3 days. I was there the Saturday, but music's huge in this group.
Yeah, like we have like wide range, like EDM, trance, whatever. This guy too. He started getting into EDM just recently, right?
Just a little bit.
Just a
It's
little bit,
more
yeah.
of like, with the wife, she loves it.
Right
and
on,
then it's
okay.
like, I'm going to these and yeah, it's not bad. But I've always been like hip hop, a little bit like, rock.
It's good to
Right.
have a good mix,
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm pretty much everything except for country. But the last couple of months I've been
Hey,
getting into a bit more
You know
country.
what? Country has some
Country,
good stuff.
come on.
What's the one that just came out a couple weeks ago? That tried that in a small town.
I don't think I.
Oh yeah, the one everybody got mad about.
Yeah,
right?
People got mad about
Bars.
it.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That song's fire. But I digress. Let's just get into like with you guys. How did you get into it? What was it that triggered within you music, specifically hip hop? Right? Like where was the moment in your life where you're like, you know what? This is it. This is my calling. This is my path. I love it.
For me, it was kind of accidental, I think.
Okay.
I never thought, I liked music a lot growing up. I never envisioned it was something that I could actually do and create myself. Somebody had asked me at school randomly when I was 12 or 13 years old, grade 6, 7, hey man, you want to be in our rap group, I was like, oh yeah, what do I gotta do? They're just like, we're gonna write our lyrics and then we're gonna battle and stuff. So I was like, all right, mans were just copying what they saw on TV, and at the time it was 2002, 2003. There was that shift happening where the older New York golden age was fading out and the new age was coming in. Outkast was leading that. I think into
the South had a
into the
wave.
ATL,
Yeah.
and then they had a huge wave, Lil Jon and all those guys. So I was right in the middle of that. At the same time, 50 Cent, Eminem. So there was like a little bit of a renaissance, like a boom in that time. So it was extremely popular, just in the style. Everybody was rocking hip hop gear, watching hip hop movies.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was unavoidable. It was part of the culture. And so I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, it seems like fun. But where it really hit me was when I went through some stuff in my life around that same time, some pretty serious things. And I coincidentally at the time was writing lyrics. I don't know how I put two and two together to put my feelings into my lyrics instead of just writing down stupidness, right? As a young man trying to battle people.
Yeah.
Where the lyrics were at first just a bunch of immature insults turned into reflections and a lot of personal growth. And I found that cool. Later on, when I was about 19, that's when the beats started. That's when I got a handle of, you know, okay, how can I actually do this? I had no idea about music theory, sequencing, and then again, everything I had learned was coming up on analog, and it was going into digital, so I had to relearn everything.
Right.
So was everything like for you just self-taught?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I picked up what I could in school from what I took in school, which was mainly film and drama. And I used the facilities at school actually to make a mixtape around when I was like 15, 16 years old. With,
Oh, say word.
Yeah,
Wow.
with that
Okay.
equipment.
That was in our film class.
In our film class, yeah.
That's cool.
And I mean, Ink been with me the whole journey. Kind of
That was before I
beside
was
me.
producing and all that kind of stuff too. I think
And-
what we were probably grade 10, maybe 16, 17,
16,
around there.
17. And then, Ink started producing, I think, when we were around maybe 18 or 19, like actually
When we got Fruity Loops, basically.
with the Fruity Loops.
And
because-
figured that out.
Yo, shout out Fruity Loops.
Yeah,
Big-
yeah.
big
Fruity
shout out
Loops,
for it.
honestly.
It's FL Studio now.
FL Studio,
But, you know.
sorry. But respect due, because it really does give a lot of people the ability to go and create their own stuff.
Yeah.
And just to be creative. And it gave me the ability to learn. And it's a very easy software to learn for beginners. But also people in the industry you wouldn't even expect use Fruity Loops up to this day.
Yeah.
So shout out, you know? Shout out to Fruity Loops.
Shout outs Fruity Loops, man. I remember Cubase.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still using Acid Pro.
Whoa,
Dude, I still have
that's
the,
a
I still have the
throwback,
CD.
man.
Yeah.
I still have the CD you gave me when I was like a teen, and for the with Acid Pro. I forget which version.
Oh, that's probably
Yeah.
Acid Pro 4.
yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
I still have
Yeah.
that.
I remember
but
that.
But that's how I got started. Basically, is from watching you doing your DJ thing when I was a
Yeah.
little kid,
Man,
and
that-
then I was big into music. And I was a big listener of music, so I was listening to Nas and Wu-Tang and all the typical kind of old school hip hop kind of stuff. But it was just learning that and like learning life lessons from it, and learning life lessons from older cousins and my brothers and everybody.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't really like I would rap along with all the songs, so that's kind of how I learned to rap. But I always wanted to do like more of the behind the scenes stuff, and then finding Fruity Loop. Actually, Spade gave me Fruity Loops, so it was your fault I even got into like music and how to like make it. So like he kind of made it like possible, like for me to even think like I can make music, And then Spade actually gave me Fruity Loops, and then we both figured out like okay how to make music. Like how to create it from nothing,
Yeah.
instead of just like, oh, let me get a YouTube beat and just rap over it kind of thing. So.
right.
Yep.
Do you guys remember like kind of like a aha moment you guys had together? Like just working together?
I think maybe when we were making when we learned how to use the slice X and how to chop
chop samples, yeah.
we were like, yo,
We went so crazy that we made a whole, I think it was
You
like almost a
achieved
30
it.
track album of all
Yeah.
like soul samples. And it was just both of us like writing raps over it and just going crazy. Like
yeah, we were challenging each other though. That's how it started.
to this day, we're
was-
still trying to recreate that album,
yeah, yeah.
Like we know we'll
because-
get sued if we ever release it, but like
Yeah.
that's the bar for us.
Yeah, it had so many crazy samples: Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, like Teddy Pendergrass on there, and very blatantly sampled as well. But and obviously we didn't know how to mix and master and all that stuff, so it was extremely
Yes.
rough. But just the energy of that project was real music making, because I would come to his house with a beat or 2 beats, and I'd go, yo, look at what I made. This is when we learned about the sampling. And I would be like, look what I made. And he's like, oh, damn, this is pretty sick. Ew. And then he'd go home and he'd come back and go, look what I made. And he has 2 beats. Now we got 4 beats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
4 turn to 8, 8 turn to 16. Next thing I know, we have 24 tracks. I'm like, yo, we got to rap over this.
Yeah.
And then I kind of forced him to rap, because I was rapping, and I'm like, I can't rap the whole 24 track album by myself. At that stage, it's not possible. And we were like 19 when we were doing that.
So that you kind of force him into like a high tech moment where like you know, high tech puts out an album, it's all instrumentals, but there's like 3 or 4 that he's got to get on and actually say something. Right?
I mean, I didn't mind it. It was fun. So
Yeah. And I mean, I knew he liked to rap, and he was writing, like just getting into rapping. He was writing verses.
I've been writing like since I was young. Like I used to do like poetry, and like ever since they would teach us poetry in school kind of thing.
Haikus and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
So like I liked just finding rhyming words. It was like a fun
Connecting
game for
rhymes,
me. And then like so rapping just kind of came naturally, That's why I like to rap along with all the songs I listen to and all that stuff. So
It's just, I mean, that's the best way to learn. Like when I was like learning how to play the tol,
yeah.
the only way, like you're not going to go to classes and learn. Like I will just play a song and just play with the song.
Yeah.
And then eventually after a while, it's like, oh, I get it now.
You start to recognize patterns.
Exactly,
I mean,
right?
that
Yeah.
is music. That's everything is patterns to an
pattern
extent, I guess.
Yeah. And music's like universal, man. Because when you look at every single genre and you see how like everything's constructed, it's all pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's.
Right?
I think we were talking about this with one of our friends, with Mike. I mean, we were having a few drinks, but shout out my DP, Mike. He's the video man, Absurd Visuals. And
Shout outs Absurd Visuals.
We were having a drink, and he was like, "Is everything in 4/4 structure or 3/4 structure?
Okay, yeah, I
why
remember
does
now.
music have to be structured? Why can't it be unstructured?" We're like, dude, I don't know why. It just, that's the way it happens. Okay, that's you know what I'm saying. It's like if you were to go into astronomy and look at the equations they have and ask why, it's like, yo, dude, I don't know.
But this works.
Y'all gotta ask Isaac Newton about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo.
I spent some time after that trying to convince him to listen to jazz music.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't like 4/4, just listen to this crazy stuff over here.
Yeah, jazz is chaotic, but it's just so awesome to listen to though, because you have no idea which direction they're
Yeah,
going
you
to
don't
go
know
while they're
what's coming
performing.
next.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there'll be mornings at work where I'm just like, I got to wake myself up. So I'll just like put some jazz on and then just listening to these like 14, 15, 16-minute sets. And they just start one way and it ends another way. Like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Right? But it's
It's a
great.
whole journey.
Yeah. It's an absolute journey.
I never really had an appreciation. Like, I didn't get it. I was just like, oh, this is just kind of like craziness for craziness sake. But until you start making music and digging in, and then you start understanding the experimental side of music. Even stuff like Aphex Twin, which is really out there. He's a really experimental EDM producer. And his music is not like pleasurable to listen to. If I it's not something you would nod your head to. And at first I did not understand.
Yeah.
He has a huge cult following though.
I gotta check him out.
Yeah. He's really weird. I actually found him through film stuff.
Aphex Twin.
Excuse me.
All right.
But Aphex Twin.
Noted. I'll check him out.
Weird guy. Didn't understand at first until I started making music. Now I understand.
There's always that one guy that comes around and just changes the game, right? Because especially like with hip hop, like when hip hop started, like, late 70s, early 80s, you kind of had like that same kind of, let's find a break beat and just go on it, add a couple of synths and whatever, right? Then you got like the early 90s where guys like Premier show up, Large Professor shows up, and they just completely turn the entire way of production on his head. And that becomes a synonymous New York sound, right?
Yep.
Fast forward another 10 years, then you get Pharrell and the Neptunes, you get Swiss Beats, you get all these guys, and like, now what are they doing? Now we're getting even crazier, right? And then the whole chopped and screwed.
Yeah.
The thing about hip hop I love so much is like its evolution was so fast and drastic. Like most genres, they kind of go like on a path like this, where hip hop's just completely it's always going like that, right? But the point of why I'm bringing that up is like where we are right now with hip hop, biggest genre on the planet. Finally, it's about time, right? But where do you feel we are right now with the sound? because I know you're heavily influenced with like the boom bap, the 90s stuff, whatever. What's your opinion on like where we are right now with like what is kind of defining what hip hop is?
How can I put this
Without sounding like an old head?
Yeah, like I don't want to sound like I'm some kind of old man that doesn't understand, because I get it. I enjoy the new stuff. It's just not what comes out of me. And I remain very true to who I am as an artist. I'm very much interested more in hip hop as an art than a product, I would say. I think that hip hop right now is at the point that rock music is kind of at, where arguably some people would say that Taylor Swift is rock music.
Who are these people?
Easy rock, right?
Yeah,
You know,
I think
stuff
I know
like
what
that.
you mean, yeah. I think I know.
It's become the popular music, so it's become pop music. So in that sense, that kind of music has lost a lot of its substance. There is a lot of great hip hop music out, but the interesting thing that I find is that we're in a time where you're going to see a cycle of hip hop music, and this is the first cycle because it's a baby genre still, right? It was born back in the 70s.
Yeah, we're in the year 50, right? This is the 50th
Happy
anniversary.
birthday. I think tomorrow is the birthday of hip hop, so happy birthday hip hop.
Shout out
Happy
hip-hop.
birthday.
Nice timing, on the
Blow,
pod.
blow out your candles, hip hop. Yeah,
Shout outs.
exactly.
Shout out to Cedric Ave.
But I think we're going to see a renaissance in hip hop, and coincidentally, I was just listening to your guys' last podcast talking about the renaissance, and it's the exact same thing. Like these ideas that we've had and grew up with, because now there are grandfathers in hip hop, whereas hip hop was looked at as you're a young hooligan for a long time, just like
Right.
the rockers, right?
Yeah.
Rock music was looked at as, oh, you're disturbing the peace, you're a hippie, whatever. Mick Jagger's 84 years old or 87 or he's in his 80s. He's an octogenarian.
And still having kids.
Like he's as old, if not older, than my grandmother. And he's still out there rocking shows. Again, that's become the popular music, but he and his band, Mick Jagger is the Rolling Stones. Yeah. They're like a Wu-Tang of their genre, where they're still kind of like true, and they can drop and it'll sound like something older. They're not going to conform.
Yeah, they're not going to conform to
what,
what's popular now.
And now I feel like even in rock music now, the shift of going back to the Renaissance, because when you listen to, and we could take our city, we could take Toronto as a prime example. If you look at the most talked about and the most promoted hip hop, it's not the hip hop that actually defines the city. I don't want to name anybody's names on a negative note, and shout out to everybody in our city doing it. It's not a dig at anybody's art, and I understand, people make money and it's a whole shebang, right? Yeah. 360 degrees of life in there. But the boom bap culture is, I find, where it's actually at in our city. If you dig into it and you find people like Raz Fresco, people like A-Sun Eastwood, even if you look at further out in Canadian rap, if you look at, I got to shout out my dude Imperative, who's been working with other American artists, Mickey Fax, Benny the Butcher. That's where the culture is kind of gravitating to. If you see the people who are actually spending the money, a lot of people are watching the other guys and going to their shows, but other people like Raz Fresco, he was selling a lot. Like, he had a bunch of action figures made and he sold those. He had some cassettes made and he sold those. He had vinyls made. The people who are going to buy those things are a certain type of person. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the core and the value of hip hop always is. And we're going to see a cycle happen. So right now, I think it's just the first cycle. It's kind of a long-winded response there, but
no, I
wanted to give it its dignity. I didn't. I don't want to
give it
knock
justice.
But what you just said, like, that's exactly how I think, where like everything just runs in cycles and just resets itself and kind of goes, just like what we talked about. I think it was the last episode we're talking about, just us as a civilization is about to reset, and we're about to go through another renaissance. But it's also, when you see the transition of musical genres like you were talking about, it always seems to be the same thing, right? Like, when rap was evolving into the sound of the 80s, that the guys in the 70s were like, oh, this is trash.
Yeah.
And then when the 90s stuff comes around, the 80s guys are saying this is trash, right? And we're moving over to 2000s. The 90s guys are saying, oh, this is trash, right?
And I think the sound evolves, right? The sound evolves. And there's like, I think in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of mix, right? There's been a lot of mixing, like rock, hip hop, you know, there's been a lot of dance music, electronic music. So like nowadays, like I listen to a lot of stuff. You could literally categorize it as two or different kind of different, you know.
It's kind of like, remember, I think mid 2000s when the new metal thing kind of took off, like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, like this thing.
Yeah.
Like it was rock, but it was rap.
It
like,
was, yeah.
you know what I mean?
90s.
It was like that mix.
But then you
rock,
start
rock.
seeing the collabs too, like you know Jay-Z did it with Linkin Park,
Yeah.
right?
You see Rage Against
And
the
then-
Machine
yeah.
as a
Rage,
product. You know, one of my favorite bands of all time is Rage Against the Machine.
So like eventually, like it gets grayed, right? Where everybody's, I mean,
I think that's what it is now. Like I think that's really gray, right? Like we were just at Veld. Like I've been listening to trance for 20 plus years, and trance alone there's so many different layers to trance now. Like if you listen to something from the 90s, like you'll never hear those sounds now.
It's totally
right.
different.
It's totally different. Even like vocal trance, there's a lot of dance music in there now. There's some hip hop tracks, right? Like it's a little mix of everything.
now I know this is kind of a cliche topic when it comes to like talking about hip hop specifically, but I'm gonna go around, ask everybody, what's that one album that the first time you heard it you were just like, yeah, and you just keep going back to it every single time, and it's like you're listening to it for the first time? Opening it up to anybody who wants to go first.
That's a very hard question because my love for the genre runs deep. So it'd have to be a couple album. Number one album. Ooh, that's very hard.
Yeah, it's hard to just pick one.
Yeah. I have like 3 albums that I don't know the names. One was with Akon, right?
Okay.
And God, I miss that guy. I like making music.
He's saving Africa. bro.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
It's
No,
just like-
I know. It's just
yeah, I know. I was gonna say,
he's one of those guys that
I
he's
miss him, bro.
Yeah.
no. It's just he had great albums and he just collabed with everyone, and then it made it a unique. Like
He
you
was
know?
great, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Eminem, and then there was Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. Those 3 albums, like those 3 guys.
You've mentioned that one quite a bit, so I
Yeah.
think that might be like your
No,
go
those
to
3.
joint there. Yeah,
Because those 3, like I listened to like hundreds of times.
Those are like your go-to.
Yeah.
So is Linkin Park falling into?
they're new metal.
They are.
Yeah.
I feel,
Yeah,
but
they're new metal.
So what
they
do you
incorporate DJ though. They
What
have
would you
one of
guys
the-
call soft rock?
Soft rock, I think, is
soft metal? No.
like
Like yeah, is that the same thing? Like you know, like the 2000s was all
I think-
about like the Fray.
I think stuff like Springsteen might
It's like-
because he's not like hard rock.
I feel like it's like soft rock was like the fusion of all these like
Was
older-
Evanescence soft rock? Linkin Park. I always threw
Evanescence is more like emo rock.
Yeah, I feel like that's the
Oh,
beginning.
yeah, now
of
but we
emo.
can't just we're attaching it.
The way
I feel
people
like-
talk about it, I think, is like with soft rock is more like more acoustic
Yeah.
and more like the softer
Fair.
sounds.
Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
like the more heavy drums and electric guitar for like heavy metal kind
There's-
of shit. Like,
Mumford and Sons.
yeah.
Yeah, so the,
Mumford and Sons.
yeah, there's your soft rock. Mumford
Hootie and the
Sons.
Blowfish.
I feel like it's
Shout outs Hootie.
maybe like a R&B, but it leans more towards having the rock and roll instruments and feel. You know, maybe you'd have like a female singer as opposed to a male singer with a slower BPM, and then you have those instruments there, but the song is like softer, you know, and it's easier listening. I don't know, but I guess that's the pop music of the early 90s.
You saying that reminds me of like a really dark period in rock history
Oh boy.
where a lot of like when glam rock became a thing,
Yeah.
and a lot of these glam rock bands started doing like these ballads.
That's kind of how I feel about hip hop today.
You know
is
what I mean?
We're in that period.
Because
you
when
know?
you're listening to Metallica and they're doing a ballad, Your brain doesn't know how to calculate and program this. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
I thought I was listening to a Metallica album, but they're doing ballads, right? Doesn't make any sense, right? But thankfully, they snapped out of it and like, you know what? We're just gonna go back to thrash metal. Let's go,
Yeah.
right? And basically killed glam rock.
Because they had a couple albums there where it was like, what is happening here? And this is as someone who listened to it not while it was happening. So just to state it for everybody to know, like, we're the middle children of hip hop, so we're 90s kids. So when we talk about these albums, a lot of people will say, oh, well, you're old, you grew up in the 80s. Like, nah,
we had to go back and
reached back for these
look for
because they were better than what we thought, you know, at the time.
Yeah, we didn't like the music of our time, so
Yeah.
we're just. That's also why we chose to make music, because we're like, oh, good music's running out. Maybe we should try and
We
contribute.
wanted to make our own. Yeah.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's why I think you had like rock went kind of through that renaissance when like all these glam bands, they were doing these ballads.
The early 2000s was all soft rock, like those bands took over.
Even the punk bands started going
Yeah, the
like
punk-
softer
yeah.
songs,
Yeah,
you know,
I think
slower
it's just
songs.
like a group, like all the group artists, right? Like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and all
well,
that.
they
right?
wanted
That
to blend in and go on the radio and make the big bucks, right? You can't blame
Exactly,
them. At the end
yeah.
of the day, it's a business. That's the fault of it.
Yes.
But like I was saying before, you know, it's important that the core fans stay there. Like metal fans are still metal fans.
Yeah.
If you talk to them,
Yeah.
they know what's up. And they're not the ones that you're going to see though. You know, same thing with hip hop fans. You're not going to see them. You'll see them at certain events, but that's real culture right there. That's a group of people. That's not a product. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of metal fans, I'm gonna say something, and it's gonna upset one person in particular a lot.
Oh.
It's gonna upset your dad quite a bit. Kiss.
I don't mind that, by the way. But
All right.
go ahead.
Kiss is the most overrated band of all time.
I don't think that would bother him.
I remember him back in the day with like the posters and like the spiked wristbands and everything, and like
Right.
the face paint and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
I
believe
I
it or
know
not,
he was
believe it or
more-
not
Yeah,
growing
right.
up. I did not hear or see much Kiss.
I had no
From him.
idea.
Yeah. Well, he was more like
I
also
did see it on
Ozzy.
TV. I think it was A&E. He had a show.
Yeah.
Was it Gene
I
Simmons
think
had a
so,
show?
Gene
yeah.
Simmons.
That's
yeah.
what that. That's
There-
all I would see.
There's something about Kiss when you have that aesthetic that you're demons and you guys just came out of hell and you're just blood coming out of your mouth and you got fire and all this stuff, but you're singing disco songs, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're singing love ballads, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Right?
yeah.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't make
Hey,
sense.
they hit a certain group of people, right? They
But
they
dude-
were huge.
But I'll tell you something about this Kiss army, whatever their fans are called.
Yeah.
They legitimately only have like 2 songs that ever really charted.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Right?
that's all it takes.
That's all. Yeah. That's all it really takes.
Yeah, but then
Like one big hit,
If
and
you ha-
everyone's
yeah.
just gonna follow you,
But the
looking for
Kiss-
another hit.
But the Kiss
But-
following,
yeah, the following
They have
though,
a
and
following.
like these guys
Yeah,
are billionaires
They have a cult
Yeah.
off of
following.
2 songs,
Yeah.
and they're in this GOAT category for some reason. But when everybody else has 1 or 2 songs, they're just called like, oh, you're a 1-hit wonder, you're a 2-hit wonder.
Right.
We don't even know who you are anymore. Does anybody remember B44?
Oh man, I don't even.
Up until this point, did anybody remember who
haven't heard that
B44
name
was?
a long,
No,
long
This
time.
guy doesn't even know who B44 is
No,
probably.
Sir.
It comes down to
They were a pop band, like like twins and like another guy.
Wait.
Them specifically, no.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait. B-
I know S Club 7 though.
Yeah, no, I don't even
Yo,
know.
shout out to S Club 7.
I know.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Wow, this is going way back.
Now I remember.
98 degrees.
Thank
I
you
don't
for unlocking that memory.
Man, Old Town.
I'm gonna throw an album.
know. I got
out
2
there.
younger sisters, so like
Yes. Album. Go.
I'm gonna throw one out there. Just with Dr. Dre's 2001.
That's
Great
that's
album.
A good one. That's a good one.
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
That album's like a movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just it has such a soundscape to it. You know.
I don't listen to a lot like a hip hop, but that's one album I could.
But
go back and always
that
listen
thing
to.
beginning to end was an experience though.
Genre defining.
Yeah.
Maybe at the time.
Because we waited what, like 10 years,
Yeah, and just
right?
the
Since the first one.
Eminem. On
I feel like that was the best
exhibit,
time for music.
Snoop.
It's like the
Yeah.
early
Like
2000s.
everybody was on there. Like yeah, I love that
Hard-hitting
album.
artists. It had like every track was a banger after
Yeah.
banger after there was no letting up. And in between, there was like these funny skits that you never
Yeah.
really, you know, and it was
It was well put
different.
together, man.
It was different. It was
Yeah.
it was like a movie. It was like a movie. That's why Dre has a big a lot of appreciation for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it being a Dre product and the production on that thing was otherworldly.
Those guys were in the sweet spot of being popular music and also putting so much effort into what they did.
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate, like, you could tell that was their vision.
Yeah.
They didn't just make that to make it and sell it. They were
At that
like,
time, it's like 50 came out, right? Like everything's a banger,
yeah.
right? Eminem, everything was just a banger, right? Then you have Snoop, Dre, all these guys, and it's like they actually put effort into all their lyrics.
That's why they
Right?
were making such good music, because they cared about it, right?
Yeah.
But it was also Dr. Dre himself.
And Dre,
Yeah.
Dre is
His
just such,
his skill just in the studio, just sonically what he can do is just on another level, man.
Yeah, but it's crazy how sometimes it works out because, like, I'm sure we've all heard that story about Still Dre, about how Scott Storch is just there,
Oh yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
Dre was just playing this drum loop and he's just like, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude just starts banging on a piano and then, like, there it is.
Yeah.
Like, what if he wasn't there that day? What if Storch wasn't even
Nah.
invited to be on the project? We probably wouldn't have gotten Still Dre.
I saw a clip recently on Scott Storch was on some podcast. I can't remember specifically the name of it, but he was talking about. He said he was talking about this specific thing working with Dre, and he's like, Dre got me to just play different things, and he would just take the part that he wanted. And he's like, but if he needed me to play it again, I would play it again, or he would just use it from the recording that he got.
Word. Yeah, Scott Storch, man, that guy had a good run early 2000s too.
And that's when they
Yeah.
first started working together. So like, I'm sure it progressed to some other kind of form of working together, but like, that's a pretty cool way to just be like, hey, come here, sit down on this piano, and I'm just gonna record. You'll play whatever you want to play. I'm gonna play this drum loop and just go
Yeah.
crazy,
That story is hilarious. He just hits play, he leaves, goes upstairs, starts making a sandwich, and Scott Storch is just sitting there and it's just like bling, 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 and like, there you go.
That would
Dre's
be,
just like, that's
yeah,
it.
that's like, as a producer, that's a dream, just to call someone who's an instrumentalist and just like, hey, play to this BPM, and I'm just gonna go elsewhere, and come back, and
Yeah.
magic could happen, man. You
And
never know.
have one of the biggest records of all time.
Yeah.
With it.
Like you said, Scott Storch mixtape era, early 2000s,
Yeah.
untouchable.
Oh,
Untouchable. How many beats I
Yeah.
rapped over of his that I wasn't supposed to? Holy.
Dude, I think he did Lean Back, right?
Was it?
I think Storch did Lean Back.
I
Terror
I
can't.
wouldn't
Squad?
doubt it.
I
Fat
can't.
Joe?
Honestly, I can't remember.
Yeah, but man,
but he might have.
Yeah, like that. Like that's what we're talking about. This guy for like 3 years was just hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
His documentary on YouTube, if you guys haven't seen it, watch it. It's like half an hour
you
long,
know,
but it's great.
I've been meaning to check that. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
You don't realize how close to like death this guy was. He could have been gone, and then this is the guy that just gave us these records that we all
They're
still
so
listen to this
synonymous
day.
now.
This guy, he was saying something stupid like he was going through like $1 million of drugs a month or something. I don't know what it was, man. Like it was some absurd
insane.
number. Yeah, it was crazy. But back to what we were doing, you had said Hybrid Theory, a couple of other ones. You just went Chronic 2001.
Yeah, I just got the
Alright.
one.
All
Just
right.
got the one.
So that's sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to you were gonna mention one, but
Even if
Yeah.
it's not,
so
even if it's
hard.
not an album, like artists.
yeah,
It's
right?
so hard
Like-
to really think about
like
it.
we're not saying like your favorite, just something that you've gone back. Like it's an evergreen.
It has to
thing
be
for you.
one.
No, like
Could have a couple.
give me like 3, 4, whatever.
I
comes
have
your
a couple like top ones. I have a couple top ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go first. Go ahead.
I would say Wu-Tang Forever is probably the number one that I just was enamored with for a long time because of the way it was put together. Just like 2001, it was the way it was put together and the message that it had, and kind of the differentiation between all the songs, all the members, what they were talking about. Another one would be All Eyes on Me by Tupac. Again, you see me kind of going back and forth because it's like 36 Chambers or Forever, but Forever just had more material to dig into, so I could just go back and listen to it.
They were a more mature sound when Forever came out.
Yeah, and they went through more. Same thing with like Tupac, like Me Against the World versus All Eyes on Me. All Eyes on Me was more, but All Eyes on Me also had Dre production. It had all these features all over it. It had songs that were for hip hop heads, and it had songs that were popular music. It had banger songs. It had songs for women. It had songs for the homies. It had like smoking songs, chilling songs, drinking songs. It's like you could put that onto the party and just let the whole album run, and it's like an experience. There's dancing tracks and all that stuff, right? And then the other one would be Biggie Smalls' Life After Death.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not just saying it because it's Biggie, Tupac, and Wu-Tang. Like, that's really was my bread and but like if you were to go back in time and check me and see what was in my little listening case to my Walkman, that was in there. And then I'll name a few others: Illmatic, Food by MF Doom, and probably like a Styles P or a Jadakiss or something like that.
If I'm not mistaken, all the ones that you mentioned, they're all double albums too, right?
Most. All the ones I mentioned, the albums themselves, double albums. Yeah. I love a wealth of material, and I love contrast. I like hearing an artist on one track go, I'll kill you, and I'm the worst guy, and then seeing him say like it's all love and I wish everybody the best, and it's like, because that's who we are as people. Not everybody is one way, evil or good, right?
Yeah,
we got two sides.
We have that all in us.
Yeah, and I feel like that comes out in double albums. You get two sides of the character, you know?
And also, like, just sticking to the same subject matter gets really boring too, because I find like that's what a lot of today's music kind of is, where it's like I heard it once and I just keep hearing it over and over again, but I'm hearing it from like 7 different guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna say like it's everybody, but most of it,
the majority.
Yeah, it's like I've already heard this.
Yeah,
I heard this guy talking.
But a lot
about
of
last
it, like
night.
the production on a lot of stuff today, is not what it used to be, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they're shorter, quicker tracks.
Yeah, I think
it's like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're talking about hip hop, especially.
Yeah. I think it was Ed Love. He was on Math Hoffa's podcast last week, and he calls it microwave music.
It's a good.
it's
it's a good
it's
analogy,
well put,
right? He's like, 2 minutes, you're into it, done, one verse and a hook, and it's a rap,
Yeah.
right? Unfortunate, but that's kind of like where we are right now. Because when I was in high school, and you wanted to hear something, you need to get your ass to the mall, go into the store, buy the CD, come home, pop into your computer or your CD player, whatever, listen to it. Now it's like you just open your phone, be like, oh, cool, this guy's got a new single out. Let me just hit play,
and it's free.
and it's free.
Well, you pay $9.99 a month or whatever,
Yeah,
pay your yearly subscription, but that's way less than going to a store and paying $12 an album.
yeah.
What about LimeWire?
Ooh,
Shoutouts LimeWire,
Yo.
LimeWire, Kazaa, Napster.
You never know whether you're getting a song or a virus.
Buddy, DC++. I don't know if you guys ever remember.
DC++ was
you want to get super illegal? Talk about downloading samples you're not supposed to be using from LimeWire.
Man,
Not that anybody here used to do that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. When I used to DJ, and then you needed to get something, it's like,
Yo.
I'm not going to a record store to get these instrumentals. I'm just popping in like,
Yeah.
oh, Mobb Deep instrumental,
Yo.
enter, and then they all show up.
Trust.
Let's go. Right?
Before that, you had to go to places like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Shout outs Play the
Shout
Record,
out,
man. Yeah.
Shoutouts Gene.
Yeah.
I still got to see that documentary. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh yeah, Drop the Needle. Big. That's
Yeah.
crazy. There's actually people in the documentary I met in real life that I had no idea were in there. I just met through like working and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
I was like, yo,
Okay.
these guys, this is crazy. One of my teachers from the school I went to for audio engineering was in it.
I think your old boss
Nice.
was in it too.
One of somebody that I worked with. Yeah, somebody I would go pick up equipment from.
Yeah.
But that's
Wow.
that's a different story.
It was just funny. He was like, "Yo, I know this guy." Both of us had the privilege.
Oh, I snapped. I was like, yo, that's dope.
But yeah, no, both of us, had the privilege of going to the premiere for
Yeah.
Drop the Needle actually at the Hot Docs Theater downtown. So that was a really cool experience. So many people were in the building, man. Like,
Yeah, we got
all of
lucky. Yeah, he got
Toronto.
the invitation, so it was big.
Yeah, really big. The director, Rob Wilson, if I'm correct on his name. Rob, thank you. Big shouts to you. The movie's doing, really good on Prime. And
Yeah, it's on
really-
Prime. If you guys want to watch it, you have Prime. Go check it out.
I didn't know it was on Prime. I am
It's on
watching
Prime.
that.
Check it out,
Yeah.
man.
Okay.
It's really dope. And all y'all check the movie, man. Drop the Needle, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
That's Toronto hip hop, and it's actually the real Toronto hip hop. The stuff that's not in there. The real stuff is in there. The record store, the DJs, the artists, the people who created the culture, the people on the radio, the people to this day.
It was
who
very
keep it
nostalgic
alive.
watching that stuff.
People will go to play the record today and buy albums for, $40+
Yep.
Still, that's hip hop. That's the hip hop community. Salute to
Yeah.
y'all.
The
Big salute.
the really cool thing about Toronto hip hop, especially when I was in high school, was you would just be at like Jug City or Albion Mall, and just. I remember I went to Albion Mall one time.
Cannot
during
believe
lunch.
Albion Mall's getting shot
Yo.
out.
Shout outs, Albion Mall.
Big shot. I used to work there too,
Okay.
Yeah.
I went there during lunch one time. I think this was like, I think I was in a grade 10 or something, and went to grab some lunch. Sat down. The table next to me, it's Ghetto Concept.
Yo.
Ghetto Concept's just sitting there. Both of
Big
them,
up.
Quadro Dolo, they're there,
That's crazy.
right? And this is just Crazy World had just come out,
Damn.
right?
man.
So they're just sitting there eating McDonald's too. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm sitting next to Ghetto Concept in Albion
Yeah.
Mall eating McDonald's,
Yeah.
right? So I had to say something. Cool guys. They didn't, talked about the video, whatever. And then I remember one time I was at Jug City and Jellystone was filming the video for Money Doesn't Buy Happiness or whatever.
Damn, man.
Right?
I remember
So-
I had the bills with his face on it. When I was like little
Yeah.
kid, someone get
Yeah.
what is this? Jellystone
Yeah.
face.
So like they're doing the video there because he's supposed to go up and down like he was going up and down Albion or whatever in
Yeah.
a car, and I'm just trying to scam my way into this video. Right? Didn't happen, but
Ah,
whatever.
I
You
was
saw
gonna say, yo,
you
you
saw
in the video?
yeah, but you saw Albion in 27 in the video, so I'm like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
at least the
yeah.
hood got into the video, right?
When,
So I'm
yeah,
like,
he
that's
shouted
crazy.
out. He said Rexdale Boulevard in the
Yeah,
song
yeah.
too, right? So big shout, man, because that's the hood.
That was great. Every time I heard Rexdale on a track too, when Shockler dropped it on Let's Ride,
Yeah,
I was like, okay, yo,
That's
shout out to
it.
Shockler, man.
West
Glasses.
End, man,
Big ups,
West
yes.
End. You know what I'm saying?
Man, the late 90s, early 2000s for like just Canadian hip, man, when Northern Touch came, right?
Yeah.
When Rascals did Northern Touch with everybody. You guys remember Northern Touch?
Banger.
That really put into perspective how much talent this country had, but we just didn't have the outlet for it. Because at that time,
Yeah.
I think we only had
It was
much music had Rap City for like a half an hour every day.
That was it.
That
and
was
then
pretty much
and
it.
then
no?
the mix on Mondays at like
Yeah.
11:30.
Yeah.
Right? Shout outs Master T. I met him when I worked at EB Games.
Big up. Yeah. Yeah, yo, for real.
Yeah.
You see how the community,
Yeah.
man's are, it's not no pay to meet people and stuff.
Yeah.
You meet
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
in the hood,
Yeah.
you know?
And then it was like such a big deal when Socrates got signed to Def Jam,
That is a very talented man right there.
right? Because
Yeah.
you never thought of like a guy from Canada being signed to Def Jam, and this
Mm-hmm.
guy got that deal, and we're just like, okay.
I remember buying a Redman album and seeing featuring Socrates.
Yeah.
I went, yo, Socrates on the Redman? This is crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, big up all the Canadian artists, man. And yo, MuchMusic was a big platform for
It
everybody.
was a
I'm-
massive platform. I think that's all we had.
I'm
right?
kind of
That's all they
bent that
had.
it's gone, to be
Yeah.
honest. I feel like there would be much more focus on the actual dope music if that was still there, showing music videos
Yeah.
and stuff.
I'm sorry, man. You just mentioned MuchMusic, and all these things are coming back to me. I've told this story to him all the time. We were down by MuchMusic one time, and then Boot Camp Click was just doing an interview on the side there, right? They were all there, and I'm with my buddies from high school, and these guys are just standing like 15 feet away, and we're just like, I can't believe we're staring at Boot Camp Click. And they're
I
just,
remember those
Yeah.
interviews
they're-
right on the street.
just right on the street. We're
Yeah.
just there, and like Speaker's Corner is right behind them.
yeah,
Yeah, big up Speaker's
shout-
Corner.
Yeah, right.
Rest
It's
in
just-
peace, Sean Price, man.
Yeah, rest in
Yeah.
peace,
Rest
Sean
in
Price,
peace,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that grimy gutter New York stuff, like it's starting to make that comeback,
Yeah.
and that kind of makes me happy because that's kind of like my wheelhouse. Like you kind of was into that kind of rap too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's because for a while there, I was really turned off from the music because it just like when the trap thing really started taking off, like when what's that guy's name? The one that had the one eye,
Fetty Wap.
Fetty Wap.
Oh, damn.
Fetty Wap blew up with that song, and then Migos and all these guys showed up
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
And for like a good year, I thought it was the same guy.
Same ways. I couldn't tell the artists
Yeah,
apart.
right?
Like legit.
Yeah.
Legit. Maybe it's because
I
I'm
could-
old or
yeah.
something.
No, I relate with that a lot.
Yeah.
Like it literally sounded like it was the same person.
All those mandems sound
Yeah,
the
it
same.
sounded the same, and that just blew my mind. And I'm like, oh, this is like 5-6 different dudes.
Yeah. There
And
was no
then-
styles
Yeah.
anymore.
There's no styles, and that really turned me off. It kind of bummed me out because that's when I went back and just started listening to the stuff I listened to when I was in school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, what is it, 2015, 16, Griselda shows up and punches everybody in the face.
That's, Griselda, Rock Marciano.
Yeah.
That wave, that's a new renaissance, man.
Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, we're starting to get somewhere again. And you kind of see, like, going back to what you were saying, like the cycles of everything. So I like that these cycles, you know, art's not immune for it. It happens with art.
Yeah.
So just going back full circle to what we started off the podcast with, I hope that this cycle that's hitting movies and entertainment right now kind of corrects itself.
Yeah.
Let's go back to having great art.
Yeah.
Right? Stuff that everybody...
And original art, right? Just
originals,
original. Like
that's
a lot
the
of
key.
the originality just across art in general, right? Be it movies or music is non-existent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It does feel, sorry to cut you off,
No worries.
but George Lucas said the same thing about the studios, that when he was coming up, he was just fortunate to be there when all the other big studios were falling down and original creators got their shot. Maybe that's what we're seeing now with this writer's strike and the rise of AI.
That's a great point. I think that's exactly what's happening.
These studios
we were just
are-
talking about
yeah.
AI today and just ChatGPT, and you know, we're kind of laughing about it, but yeah, you have ChatGPT create you a script and
It's going to be
go from there.
Making
And it's
music.
a wrap. Yeah,
Chat-
here's the thing,
AI
too.
making music. Have you guys seen
Oh yeah.
AI Kitchen's music FL thing?
I heard a Tupac and DMX song today
Guy.
that I was like, and it's AI, and I was like, this sounds like them, but lyrically it's not there, but it sounds like them. you
I
know?
wish
But
showing-
imagine,
yeah.
sorry, just like
Yeah.
imagine, like you have an ear. You guys have an ear for music, right? You guys have been doing it your whole life. It's what you guys do. But for someone like me who doesn't listen to a lot of rap or doesn't listen to a lot of hip hop, like, you know, they'd probably get me. I'd be like, I can't even tell the difference.
No, well, if I don't pay attention, like if I'm like listening, because I was listening to it.
Yeah.
If I had that on, I wouldn't have noticed. It would have just been another song in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have said, "Hey, wait a minute, I never heard that Tupac."
It's frightening,
You know,
man.
like-
That's a lot of like the new hip hop audience as well. That's their attitude towards music is
Yes.
I noticed a lot of the younger listeners, they use music differently. You know what I mean? Like they don't connect with it the same. It's kind of just like, that song came out when this happened. Like it's like when they relate it to a life event rather than because I know we did that as well, but like at the same time, like the songs had more substance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they meant something. The song was about something.
Yeah, it's hard. Like we said, it's hard to carry a lot.
Yeah.
You know, in a song that's 2 minutes.
Well, I also feel like, you know, I wouldn't want to really pigeonhole it to like younger people or older people, even though there is a big trend of that. I would say that it has more to do with a mass amount of people following a little following. So like you said, like the people who follow the metal guys but never talk to a metal fan, they think they're a weirdo, but they kind of like that music. Now someone will come out with a more digestible form of that music for that person, and that's most people. So most people are now going to copy that style, and all the guys who were really in that style are going to say, yo, this is watered down. And that's what we're seeing in hip hop is now. Before, the people who were listening to hip hop were mostly kind of marginalized people, you know, people of color, more diverse racial backgrounds. Not to bring it to a racial thing, but now if you want to sell it to the suburban population, you're gonna have to water it down. You can't be telling kind of them they're the villains, right? Attacking middle class society or having them fear you if you want them to come to your shows and stuff. So, you know,
It opens up a can of worms.
Yeah.
Worms because, like, you know, I think it goes hand in hand with globalization. You know, you reach a global audience, so your music kind of has to kind of be global. You want to connect with as many people as you can. So that kind of, you know, with everything, right? It kind of makes things much more similar than they used to be.
here's the big thing now. Who's going to be the first one to sell our music to the aliens? You know what I'm saying? There's the whole new market, right?
I'll say one thing, man. When these aliens come down and like Lil Pump and Tekashi is the first thing they listen to, they're just getting back into their ship and they're out of here, man.
Hopefully they don't want to
Or
get rid
maybe-
of us if they see that. They're
That-
gonna be, hey.
Or they've heard that out in space on the radio waves already, and like, we're not even gonna bother going to this planet.
That's probably more likely.
Or they want to come shut us up. Hey.
Or what if they are the aliens? They're the squirrels.
Yo, that's the real secret invasion right there.
Right? Didn't all U.S. presidents have shape-shifting reptilian bodyguards at one point too?
Man,
Yeah.
there's oh man. You know what's funny?
It's almost
too?
every day now. Like it's dropping some news about aliens.
Yeah,
like it's,
yeah. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. That's another one of your podcasts that I was listening to. You know what I mean? Because it's a crazy subject.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
evolved, right? Over 50 years. Like you were laughed at, and now it's like for someone who followed this story for a long time, I almost feel ashamed talking about it because I don't even know if the government's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Like all these years, you're like, hey, tell us the truth, and now it's like they're just openly talking about it. It's like really? Like
It's funny too because I'm one of those guys as well. Since I was a young kid, you could hear it in my lyrics. Like I'm all into UFOs, extraterrestrial, metaphysical, whatever. But I'm also a skeptic. But now it's like, you know, something I would have laughed at, like the reptilian hypothesis, the Seleucian hypothesis, whatever it's called. I would have laughed at. But now, you know what's funny is that I'm not saying it is, but it is possible now. It's more possible than it was because what did Grush say? He said non-human entities. He didn't say extraterrestrial. When they asked him, he said, because I'm opening up all possibilities. These things could be interdimensional. They could come from within the earth. They could come from under the water. You know, we don't know where they're coming from, right? And that's the whole thing, because people, after this happened, said, aliens are real, aliens are real. Aliens aren't real, but there's an unknown operating within our world that has clearly been
it's been happening
defined.
for decades, and now
we have calculated proof with military technology. We've just elevated to the point where it's like you can't hide this from the everyday average person.
And that's what best case scenario. That was my thought process. Like not to go too off topic.
Yeah.
But you know, David Icke, shout out. We'll definitely do that podcast one day. But you know, like now that they're openly talking about it, like you said, you can't hide it forever.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the way. But you know, there's a lot going on politically. So sometimes it's like, hey, is this just a distraction?
Yeah.
Right. So you know, we've been lied to so much now. It's kind of hard. Like we're navigating through all this information to trying to find out what's real.
They're really trying to distract us because like in the last 2 weeks they've hit us with aliens and reopening Tupac's murder case.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, there's this whole Donald Trump fiasco happening with his trial and the presidential election and all this stuff. So that's why
the harder they go
will,
after him,
you know,
they're just giving him the White House.
Yeah.
There you go, man. If they keep attacking him, it's like laying siege to a fortress. Sun Tzu always says, you know, that's one of the first rules in the art of war. Don't lay siege. You're gonna waste all your resources. You know what I mean?
Like I have to compare it to like pro wrestling. The more you push a guy to be the villain and the bad guy, the heel, the more the crowd's gonna be like, nah, this guy's cool, and I'm on his side.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Because when
Is that the CM Punk effect?
No, the same thing happens with Andrew Tate too, right?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People love villains, man. People love heroes and villains. Either dichotomy will have their fans, right?
Yeah. I mean, Thanos had a point.
Especially if the government's going after you that hard, it's the people are kind of like, they're not on the government side. They're like, why are you going after this guy so hard? What is he doing that's so wrong?
Yeah.
So then they're gonna support that more, right?
Like, what's up with this?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
when he's not really saying anything wrong. Like the thing with Tate is people always nitpick what he says. Like he'll have a 3-hour podcast, but he says something in 17 seconds and they're going to run with that 17 seconds.
But I think that's everything
That's
now,
all
right?
news.
I think,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think that's on him as well because he does have a habit of getting extravagant when he doesn't have to be. He does it.
No, but he's
because,
honest about that. That's
you know,
like so
it's theatricality, but again, like it's one
I
of
talk
those.
I talk a lot about like just social media platforms, like especially in a society now where like there's some extreme stuff out there and people just do it for attention, right? Like people have figured out how like these algorithms, how do you go viral? You know, how do you have a hot take? So I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to listen to. He sat down with Candace Owens. Like if you listen to that podcast, she grilled him on all the stuff in his past. Like, hey, you said this, you did this on video, right? The guy's like, yeah, I'm 20 years old, right? Like I'm a kid, I'm learning, right? Like I'd never do that today. I'm much wiser.
But the thing is,
Right?
it's like that's the thing with social, like the Skip Bayless thing we were talking about, right? Like he's gonna say these outrageous things, so you just click in. It's like clickbait, right?
Exactly.
And then I think he did just what everyone else does. It's like you have a point, but you're gonna say it in a way to provoke people.
Yeah.
I don't think he
Right?
realized how many people, like, not just a person, but like outlets
So-
were looking at him when he was saying what he was saying.
But
and he
that's
kinda
why,
Yeah.
tripped over himself.
when he
you know?
became the most, he even said it himself. He's like, I didn't expect to become the most Googled person on the planet.
he became the pariah
Right?
of
Yeah.
humanity.
when
for a
that
good little while.
happened, when that happened, that's when he realized he's like, okay, I gotta kind of change how
Yeah.
I'm saying things, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
But if you look at the early clips, like before he was kind of like a big internet sensation,
yeah.
you can see like he cracks up when he's saying some things. There
Oh,
is
yeah,
some
he's
moments
just
where
joking
he's
around.
a troll.
He is just totally
He's
messing
trolling.
around. Yeah.
I think
There's
that-
a podcast. I think Tom Segura is his name from
Yeah,
your mom's
yeah.
house.
Yeah.
So Tom had Tate on, and he was asking them questions, but these you could clearly tell they were just
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
joking
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
having fun. It was funny because that podcast, they have this whole segment called like the Cool Guys Club or something, and it's just
You're
like
right, yeah.
guys that are just ridiculously weird or whatever. And he was in that. They put him in that group, and then they had him on the podcast, and it was just like, oh, okay. So like the whole time, I'm like, this guy's just playing a character.
Yeah.
But then there was other times where I'm like, he means what he's saying. So like I'm like confused on the whole thing, to be honest with you.
I definitely recommend if like anybody out there, especially with all this, like, you know, you don't really know what's right or what's wrong, but check out the Candace Owens podcast. I'd highly recommend that. I know he sat down with Tucker Carlson. That was more of like, you know, more about the trial, but if you really want to see him get grilled and, you know, see where he's coming from, check out the interview on Daily Wire.
Yeah. Candace didn't hold back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went after him.
But I think, you know, the individual speaks to a larger problem, right? There's a lot of young men out there that don't really have guidance nowadays.
But he's doing a service to, like, if you look at where the culture is, he's doing a service. There's a
But-
reason all these young men
Yeah.
are looking up to him, because society today is like, we talk about feminism. We live in a world today that is dominated by female rules, laws. They're in power, and men are told to be weak. Like, that's the message from the media. That's the narrative in film and anywhere you look. We started off this conversation about Disney and them forcing these certain narratives. Like, for instance, in the 80s, you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, you had all these action heroes, and the idea of what a man was, it's not what it is today, right?
No. Or
So-
they want to preserve it, but they don't do the action to preserve
Exactly.
it. They're doing the opposite.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's tough when, like, because when you're on your phone like 7 hours a day, and all these guys are reading and hearing is like, they ain't right. You're not doing enough. You know, we should be the ones that are taking over, whatever. And then a guy comes along, says, no, you're fine. You're cool. Just be a man. Right? It's easy for these kids to fall into that and be like, all right, you know what, this guy, he's got a point. But I think with
Yeah.
Tate, it's the way he makes his point is so grandiose,
Exactly.
right? That he's basically become the gimmick. You know, we always talk about guys becoming the gimmick,
Yeah.
right? Like, he's become the gimmick.
Yep.
I actually think Tristan is probably worse than him. Like, when it comes to, like, the way he gets his points out.
That's his brother? I
His
think?
brother, yeah, right? Like, when you listen to the way Tristan talks and says things, it's like, okay, this guy's really hammering it in, where Tate's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, he'll just say it and just, like, sit back. But
Yeah.
Tristan's like, no, you're going to listen to me for the next 5 minutes, and you're going to
Guys, I'm telling
listen
you,
to what I'm going to say.
check out that interview, because like call me out on it. Like, tell me one thing that he said outlandish in the last 6 months that you disagree with.
No, I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong. I'm saying the way he presents the point. Right?
Yeah,
Because
but
that's how he's getting it across.
But that
Right.
goes back to, this is what I mean. Like, check out his recent stuff. Like, when he got caught on fire on the internet, like, he has a whole course to tell you how to use the algorithm to get followers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a whole method on social media that, like I said, yeah, you have to have a character, a gimmick that gets your message out, right? Like, for instance, let's go back to sports. Stephen A. Smith. He has a personality. The way he delivers his message, the way he analyzes sports, it's not really what he says about sports. It's more his personality and how he comes off.
Right.
Right.
It's kind of like you're saying, hey man, this t-shirt's red, but you're just saying it like this t-shirt's red.
Yeah.
But Champ's over there, he's got pots and pans and he's banging pots and pans and he's
Yeah.
saying the t-shirt's red. Everyone's gonna be listening to him rather than the guy who's like, the t-shirt's red.
Or well, make it even like, you know, with anything, you could put it sports, movies, music, whatever. Put a pretty girl beside a guy,
Yeah.
and who are you gonna listen to? The other dude who's by himself with all the facts and the whiteboard? Or are you gonna listen to the guy with the pretty girl in the Ferrari? Who are you gonna listen to?
Yep.
And then you play that character. It's like, what did Harvey Dent say? You live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, I love that line.
And it's true, right? Especially today with the amount of sensationalism in the world. I think
that's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But
I think
people literally push the boundaries and push the limits just to stand out.
Well, they will push people, and there are very smart people that exist in the world. Unfortunately, statistically speaking, the majority of human beings that exist are not too intelligent. So
Get out.
they're gonna take things at a surface level.
Yeah.
But people who know, they know.
It's groundbreaking.
Guys,
Breaking news, everybody.
holy, you
This
heard it
just
here
in.
first, man. Jeez.
This is why we need more Spade.
That's why they call me the Shadow Man.
Man, we went off on a tangent. We didn't get to this guy's album.
Yeah.
or
So what are
song or
your
whatever.
your go-to albums?
You had a good 10 minutes to think about
Even I forgot.
It's like I wasn't even.
it. Yeah.
Man, my go-to albums would have to be. I mean, Spade already said Illmatic. That's like every old school hip hop's go-to album. In fact, like I would say every word on that album.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Another one that's like that would be Black Star by Black Star. Shout out Mos Def, Yassine Bey. He's still Mos Def to me. Talib Kweli and High Tech. But those are the two go-tos that I keep always go back to. Sorry, I keep messing up with the mic. And then I'll give you two more that are kind of more recent because those are like obviously like in the 90s and stuff. It would be Fonte's Charity Starts at Home. That's one of my favorite albums. And Damn by Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
Sorry, Damn by Kendrick Lamar. Which I think kind of represents just like the human existence.
Yeah, that was a good one. I really like that one.
Both really good
Yeah.
albums. Yeah.
But if you haven't heard Charity Starts at Home by Fonte, that's a really, really good album to go listen to.
All right. I haven't heard that one, but I'll
Yeah.
definitely check that one
Yep.
out.
One of the members of Little Brother.
Little Brother, yeah.
Fonte, yeah.
Oh,
With Ninth
Lil
Wonder.
Bro- okay, Lil Brother. I know. I don't know their names or whatever. That's
Yeah,
okay. That's interesting.
he's
I
one of
like
the
Lil Brother.
rappers.
Okay. Shout out Ninth Wonder, man. That guy's awesome too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys we were talking about earlier that use Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
I think he's on Machine now, but he started using Fruity Loops.
His episode on Rhythm Roulette is one of my favorites.
Yeah, he had one of the dopest episodes.
Rhythm Roulette. It's a series on YouTube. Mass Appeal does it, where they grab a producer, they blindfold him. He goes into a record shop, grabs 3 records, and he has to chop it up, make a beat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and Ninth Wonder, he did like 3 beats on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually recreated one of the beats off that.
Oh no way.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
the beat so much I was like, I have to do this myself.
I gotta make it myself.
Yeah. Was it the one that she rapped over? Rhapsody?
Rhapsody? No, that was the one that had like the crowd noises and stuff, right?
Oh, right,
Like the
yeah,
audience sounds. I think it was the one he made before that. I think it was the second one with the country.
Oh,
sample.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Can't Forget You, I think is what the track's called. I forget the artist name.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one that I recreated. I couldn't recreate the bass line obviously because it was hard to hear it. And I kind of just freestyled one, but it was as close as I could get it.
I mean, it's learning experience, right? You're watching like these masters of their craft do it, and when you
Yeah,
try to
exactly.
replicate it, you get better at it.
It's
right?
like how I was saying, like how I used to rap along with the tracks before I even like rap my first song.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the same thing. Yeah.
It's how a lot of people learn how to cook, right? You watch your parents cook,
Yeah.
and you kind of internalize it, right?
Try to replicate it.
Yeah.
Or you watch guys on YouTube who just make absolute garbage and try to replicate that too.
Well, you
Shout
gotta
out
be careful.
Sam, the cooking guy, man. Like that guy, He makes some of the wildest things, man.
I have I've never seen this guy.
Dude, you guys need to watch Sam the
creates
cooking
some
guy.
wild
He-
stuff,
He makes like legit Sunday afternoon NFL Sunday. Like, this is what you're gonna eat for the next 6 hours type of food,
Oh damn, son.
right? And it's I always find that it's always cheese, beef.
Always cheese.
It's always
Lots of
something,
meat.
right?
It's like
Lots
different
of meats.
variations of the same
Yeah, but then
ingredients.
he'll always take like fast food items and turn them into something else,
Oh, word.
right? So he'll do like
Oh, he's done them
Big
all.
Mac
Yeah,
nachos
he's done
or
That
whatever.
reminds me of, you guys remember Epic Mealtime?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
That reminds me of what those guys used to do.
man.
Make like a Big
Are they
Mac
still
burrito
around?
or something.
Shout
They're still
out Epic
around, yeah.
Mealtime, man. Yeah.
But
They
they don't.
took it too far, man.
Those guys used to cook like it was a concert. Like they would be on a stage,
Yeah.
feeding people burgers off a lance or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I never seen
guys were
nothing like
hilarious,
that in my
man.
life. G.
When these guys were at their peak, they were unstoppable, man. Because they
Yeah.
did that. The very first thing they did was the fast food lasagna, right?
Yo,
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are these guys?
what is this madness?
And then you just keep watching more and more episodes, and you're like, these guys are amazing,
yeah.
right? And then that guy, was it Muscles Glasses?
Muscles
Glasses,
glasses,
Right?
the sauce boss.
Yeah, I lost my Bacon Strips t-shirt, man. I had a Bacon Strips t-shirt. I don't know where it
Oh, yo.
It's something I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks, actually, because my wife the other day asked me, hey, put on some trailers. And I'm like we went through a couple. I'm like, honestly, like, there's nothing creative. There's nothing like new, you know? And like, we're talking about all these shows, like a lot of the, especially YouTube shows, like
Yeah.
there's more creative, original content
Yeah, dude.
that's enjoyable just on YouTube.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, like even hot ones. Like what a
Yeah.
concept. Like just
Yeah.
interview people and
Yeah.
you eat hot wings at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, and it's huge and it's
Yeah.
very entertaining to watch.
Yep.
It's great. I love hot ones.
And you ain't got to wait for a certain time on the TV to watch it.
Exactly.
You ain't gotta
Yeah.
sit through commercials.
On demand.
But even just the effort that I think Sean Evans is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The effort that he puts into
The
researching.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to do the questions.
Yeah,
he
he-
reminds me of like Nardwar.
Nardwar,
There's a
I was just
reason
gonna
why-
say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's a reason
Yeah.
why everyone loves Nardwar. Like what I think he has a interview with J. Cole that's like almost an hour.
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing and I was like, that was an hour?
It,
Like
Yeah.
it just went by like
That's
this.
how you know it was
it's
a good interview.
it's crazy you mentioned Nardwar, man, because I was on this thing last week where I was just watching compilations of reactions to Nardwar's questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? They're like 15-minute videos, but you just
Yeah.
genuinely see these people react
Yeah,
to like
all
what
these
he's
artists
saying.
are
They're like, how did you know that?
Yeah. He's talking about like their best friends from like the 3rd grade, and
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
like, "What?"
There was a video I saw on social media recently of a little girl that actually interviewed Nardwar and did that to him.
Yo.
Oh, no way.
I
Yeah.
gotta
So she's
check
giving
that.
him gifts and all this stuff, and then
Yeah.
it's the actual clip that was going around was he answered a question. He was kind of just like, you got to stick with it, and it was kind of an inspirational thing that he was talking about. So that's what everybody was sharing. But the actual interview, the whole thing was like kind of touching because like it's like, oh, like the kids care, man. Like it's
Yeah.
like reassuring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nardwar, man, Canadian legend.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone who
Big
puts
ups.
effort and time and cares
Yeah.
about their craft, you
Yeah.
know, and makes art and cares about the art and their communities.
Yeah,
Yep.
care about the art. Speaking of art, man, we're just talking about Epic Mealtime. I just remembered the one of the craziest things I've ever seen them do. Did you ever see the episode where they basically pepper sprayed their house?
No.
No, I didn't see that one.
So these guys, they're making the world's spiciest tacos, right?
Oh my god.
And then they have that, like that devil's extract that they always use.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be 2 drops, max. These guys put like 5, right? And then they started to saute the beef while they were doing it.
Oh my god.
You basically created pepper spray.
Yeah.
So
So it's like smoking the house.
Smoking the house. Everybody in the house had to leave. They
Yo,
evacuated, opened all the
yo.
doors. They're outside in the balcony. They're rubbing their eyes.
can't
they're crying.
breathe. Yeah.
Can't breathe. And then Atari had to go back in, and he's trying to like finish it with like a towel over his face.
Dedication.
Holy.
But
No,
dude,
but that's effort, right? They put in the effort.
Yeah, there's the effort
Right.
right there, B. You can't, yo.
Life or death. They gotta
Life or
finish
death.
that.
Yo.
and just the payoff to see these guys go through what they went through when they were eating it was worth it, man.
Oh man.
Definitely watch that episode. That's top 5 epic meals.
I gotta go back and
episodes
see
I've
that
ever-
one.
Yeah, I gotta check that. I never checked that
They
one.
pepper sprayed the house, man. It was hilarious.
That's
I
crazy.
couldn't believe that.
My favorite one I always used to watch, like just go back and watch, was the St. Patrick's Day one where they got really drunk.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
That one just like it's so fun. There's another channel that I watch is like a baseball channel, and they did this one where they do like live ABs, live at bats, but they took tequila shots between each round, and they got to like 7 tequila shots, and these guys are like nowhere close to where the ball is. Like a pitching machine, so it's consistent. The ball's just in the same spot every time, and they cannot get close to this thing, man. It is so far. One of the guys, like, he's a big Asian dude, swings and he just like folds. He just falls down.
Oh man.
Whenever I need a good pick me up, I just watch one of those.
That's the best entertainment. Like we were talking about, even like Critical Drinker.
Yeah.
Like this guy, he just gets drunk and just starts, shooting off the top of his head.
I
You're
think
like,
he
this
just
is
had an
amazing.
appearance on Russell Brand.
He was on Russell.
He was, right? I was like, damn.
He's funding his own TV show or a movie,
Yes.
I think. He wrote like a novel or a graphic novel.
He has a
about
novel,
about Rambo. Like,
Yeah.
he's doing, like, he started, like, criticizing movies, and people said, you would probably tell him, hey, well, why don't you do it better? He's like, well, hey, let me get some money.
That's
and I'm
probably
gonna
how
show
it
you,
happened. Yeah.
You know, which is what I'm kind of in the process of doing.
Yeah,
as
let me just
well.
get some whiskey while I'm at it too. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Exactly.
That's hilarious. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for swinging by, making time to join us
Yeah,
today.
man. I don't know where the
doubt,
time
man,
went,
no
man. It's
doubt.
been a
Yeah,
pleasure
appreciate
talking to you
Yeah,
guys.
damn, it's time already?
Yeah,
Shit.
man. I think we just tied our record. That's great. Well, it was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
tell
man. Pleasure
the
having
world.
you guys.
Yeah, tell the world where they can find you guys, man.
Well, yo, first and foremost, mad respects to you guys, the Belligerent Brown Boys, for having us on, Honestly, I'm a big fan of your podcast. I listen to it not just because it's the Mandem, but like it's interesting stuff. So you check this
Appreciate it.
episode. You came here for me. Check back and listen to some interesting stuff. But if you didn't come here for me, where you can find me is spadetheshadow.com. Spade the Shadow, all platforms. I rap, I produce, sometimes I review some movies. Spade the Shadow on YouTube. Hey, hit me up, man. I just released my first project ever. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. It's on my website, on Bandcamp. You could find it all over the place. Google Spade the Shadow. It's called Last of a Dying Breed, Volume 1. Volume 1. That means there's more coming, more stuff on the way.
Yeah, there's a lot more. I can confirm that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is my dude, the engineer, Ink, the homie for life, engineers all my stuff. This is like a band, like I'm the rapper, he's the guy behind the music. Even if I make the beat, he's helping me a little bit mix the beat. He's recording me, so that's how hip hop is. It's a lot of people behind the scenes, but really it's me and this guy, and that's the PNC.
That's how it happens.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Magic happens.
I want to thank you guys as well for having us on the show. It was awesome. I mean, the time went by. I feel like I've been here for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
This was really good. And then you guys can find me at on all social media, on Instagram, Twitter, what's the other one? Facebook. I don't really mess with Facebook.
Sure.
But Instagram and Twitter, you can catch me at ink_TO.
Word.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Pleasure,
No.
boys.
All right, hip hop. All right, episode 10.
Keeping it alive.
Salute.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on part 2.
Peace out.
Last of a dying breed. They ain't about that life, they just talk about it. Younger me would open up the trunk, pull the about it. But I'm grown and I'm smarter now. I'm a phantom done, I move in the shadows, I dart you down. I'm laughing now, you could cry later. It's no wonder that you'd rather go and walk through the fire. You just walked around it. I'm saying how I feel, standing around the stem.